So, when Christmas is on its way, there's no better pudding to make than homemade mince pies. So here is my really simple recipe. Firstly, we need to preheat our oven to 200 degrees centigrade. So you need to start by making my short crust pastry recipe, and you can do this by clicking on the video on the screen. And it uses 200 grams worth of plain flour, 115 grams of unsalted butter and 1 egg yolk. Once you've made your pastry and you've left it to chill in the fridge for at least 30 minutes, you then need to flour a work surface and then roll your pastry out. And you need to roll it to the thickness of just under a £1 coin. So this recipe makes 8 mince pies, so you need to get yourself a cake tin and then grease, using either oil or butter, 8 cups of the cake tin. You then need to get yourself a circular pastry cutter that's big enough to cut out 8 circles out of the pastry that are big enough to fill each cup of the cake tin. And once you've cut out your 8 circles worth of pastry, carefully push them into the tin. You now need to fill your pastry cases up with mincemeat, and for this recipe you'll need between 250 and 300 grams of it. You can either use a jar of shop bought mincemeat, or if you want to make it from scratch, why not try my mincemeat recipe by clicking on the video on the screen. And for each pastry case you'll need to fill them about 2/3 full worth of mincemeat, and this will make sure it doesn't overflow when it's in the oven. So, once all of your mince pies have been filled up with mincemeat, you then need to get yourself another circular pastry cutter. This time it needs to be a little bit smaller to make sure when you cut the circles of pastry out, they fit nicely on top of each mince pie. Before you put them on top though, just be sure to run a little bit of water around the rim of each mince pie, and this is to make sure it creates a seal with the pastry. Then place the pastry tops over each mince pie, sealing it again with your finger around the edge. Finally, lightly dust all of the mince pies with a little bit of caster sugar, then using a sharp knife, pierce a hole in the top of each one to allow the hot air to escape when they're in the oven. Now stick your mince pies in the preheated oven for between 20 and 25 minutes, or until they're baked until they're golden brown. And just make sure you keep an eye on them as well to make sure they're not burning whilst they're cooking. Once the mince pies are baked, remove them from the oven and then leave them to cool, unless you're wanting to eat them whilst they're still warm. And then simply dust them with a little bit of icing sugar and enjoy. And you can check out even more of my recipes that taste great in the winter by clicking on one of the videos coming up on your screen.